Hello everyone, before this video starts, I just wanted to quickly say two things. First of all, you should be proud of me because this was a 1 hour and 7 minute video and I compressed it down to 22 minutes, so enjoy. Second thing is that if you have any specific questions that you don't know, email me with them, please don't comment them, and whoever comments them will be deemed dumb one in the comment. Like literally, if someone comments that, you can just reply the dumb one. Alright, that's it guys, enjoy. Hello everyone and welcome to my How to GFX video, and I was asked to re-upload it, but I decided that it was butt gross, so I am making a new one. This is not for people that have no clue what Cinema 4D is. If you don't know how to use it, look up other tutorials. This is not the basics of Cinema 4D. This is not teaching you how to move around with it. Also, this tutorial will not get you to make GFX exactly like mine. This is just teaching you to make it similar or get you started. The program is not free because I'm not going to teach you guys how to crack it, as that is illegal. Also, I'm not going to be teaching you how to import rig. Okay, you're gonna need to download the following. First of all, get WinRAR, as it is very important for downloading programs like Cinema 4D and Photoshop. Once you have that downloaded, and if you don't know how to download it, then I'm disappointed. Once you have that downloaded, then you need to get Cinema 4D. I know, it's insanely expensive. I'm not saying I got it for free. I'm not saying I paid for it. And I'm definitely not teaching you how to get it for free. Third of all, you need to get Photoshop. In order to do that, press the search button, type in Photoshop, and then go to buy now. It's gonna make you do a whole bunch of stuff, not teaching you how to do that either. Now on to the next part. I'm gonna teach you how to do Cinema 4D render. First of all, you're gonna need a decent Lightroom. I personally always use Monday's Lightroom V2. However, this does cost money. You can always use a different Lightroom and you should be fine. Second thing is that you're gonna need an FMR rig. Technically, you don't have to use FMR, but I'm only gonna be teaching you how to use FMR 5.0. I really like this rig. It's the best free rig I know right now, called Exquisite Edition. And then since I'm your bestie, I'm also gonna hook you up with some weapon rigs and such. Pixelated model pack, the best one out there because it has the combination of swords, bows, and has a really good fishing rod and stuff like that. There's Flash's bow rig, there's also his jacket rig, and then I also like to use this rig for gapples, and it comes with a red sword, which is pretty nice. I don't remember what the specific name of this was, so I just made a media fire of it. It comes with all 5 of the infinite swords that are normally found in the texture pack but put into Cinema 4D, and I personally would just install them all. Alright, so now when you have your rig open along with your Lightroom, you're gonna be a little bit confused if you've never used a rig before. The reason it's completely black is because you need to import your skin. On this rig, just drag your mouse over all of these and then go to where it says skin, click on the 3 dots and import your skin. I'm gonna use a skin that I made GFX for the other day, more like the other week. This rig automatically has the hat or second layer, which has this little hair flute, but if it doesn't, check it. The settings I like to have is no cape, feet on, eyes on, eye sparkles off, and teeth I normally have off. If your skin's eyes are down here, then you can just pull it up or pull it down to make them higher or lower. This is the lowest it can go, so for most girl skins it won't work. The reason I like this rig so much is because you can adjust it, meaning that you can make the body skinnier or fatter. Same with the arms and the legs. I'm just gonna change it to my personal settings and you guys can copy it. This is for a guy build, by the way. If you guys look at my screen right now, that is the options that I would normally use. And again, you can adjust it to whatever you want. Now on to extruding. Extruding for different rigs can be quite confusing. I'm just gonna show you how to do it with this rig. First of all, you need to go to layers and find 5.0 body. There might be 2 of these, so what I normally do is I just unlock both by clicking on the little lock sign and make sure it's white. Now you will be able to select each limb. If you guys don't know what extruding is when you make pixels stand out. So to do this, switch back to attributes, click on the thing you want to extrude. Personally, I like to zoom in a bit so I know what I'm doing, and press this button right here called polygons. Again, make sure you're on attributes and press D. Make sure your maximum angle is set to 91 and the offset is your choice. Now this is the part where you select the pixels that you want to extrude. There's a few ways to do this. You could do it pixel by pixel. If you are doing it pixel by pixel or with any tool, make sure that if you're trying to get another pixel, hold down your shift key before you click and then it'll select every pixel. Otherwise, it's just going to be selecting one pixel at a time. If you want to deselect a pixel, press Control before you click and click. The second way to select the pixels is to use live selection, and as you can see, my tool is way too small, so just left click on your mouse and drag your mouse wheel up or down depending on what you want the size of it to be. Now, if I hold shift down, I can select this entire thing quite quickly. There's an even faster way that you can do. Go to select, loop selection, and then select the part that you want. This means that the entire part around the arm is going to be selected. If you don't want it to all be selected, then don't use this tool. You can also do it up and down as well, or vertical. Press D again on your keyboard to get back to this screen and select your offset. I would highly suggest doing it under 5 because otherwise it can be a little bit too much. I would normally stick with 2 or 3. I'm personally going to do 2 and I'm selecting the other arm and doing 2 as well. It's difficult to exactly tell you what to extrude because each skin is different. Onto the chest. Normally what I do is I select the skin part of it and I put the offset to -2, which basically means that the shirt is going to be poking out instead of the skin. And otherwise you'd have to select all of this. And if it's a jacket, then I normally extrude it by a bit more as well. And if you get a problem like this, just go back and unselect the ones you screwed up. I would personally do this 3 and this little bow tie or whatever the heck it is. With shoes though, I can generally tell you exactly how to extrude if it has this style of shoe. Select the entire shoe first of all, and then put the offset on 3. Then for the white part, select all the white part, and this time put it on 2, and just do that with each shoe. Now onto the face. One reason that I really like this rig is that it's very adjustable with the mouth and the eyes. Each of these have a different function, aka making the eyebrows go up and down here it controls the eyes. This controls both of the eyes and where they move. This controls the eyes looking surprised or sad. This controls it looking happy or tired, basically the bottom eyelid. This also controls the bottom eyelid, but it rotates it, and then this does the opposite, makes it look angry. This one will adjust the mouth. Going up makes it open more, going to the right makes it open. This little yellow one makes it happy or sad when you bring it up or down. Sad is down, up is happy. This controls how far the eyebrows go up and down via looking surprised, and this one makes both eyebrows go up or down. This makes the other eyebrow go up or down. Now if you want to do each thing specifically, you can. Now on to extruding the head. This is a little bit more complicated. First of all, you want to extrude the actual head layer, and it'll be easier if you get this layer out of the way, which you can do by just pushing to the side. Don't worry, you can put it back by going on the X on this part of Cinema 4D, pressing 0 and pressing apply. Warning, make sure to always extrude before you move your rig, otherwise it could be confusing to move that back. This is why I'm showing you guys extruding before I'm showing you how to position things. So for the head layer, to find it directly, go into Objects, press the plus button on your rig, press the plus button on the head part, and go to where it says Extrude Mesh Head. Instead of making this red, make them gray circles by pressing them once. Now for a second you might panic thinking that all of your eyes and stuff are gone, but I'll show you how to fix it. This is my method. A lot of different people have better methods, but this is just how I do GFX. Select where your eyes were and where your mouth was, and you can either plainly press the backspace key on your keyboard, you can do the offset and do -4. One issue with that is that the mouth doesn't have blackness behind it, and it just kind of looks weird. Before you extrude, just know if you extrude too much, it might cover the eyebrows. That's not a problem for you, go ahead, but if it is, then keep that in mind. Now you can get to extruding the face. This is the same method. You could use the live selection, doing it pixel by pixel, or you could do loop selection. Make sure that the accessories are higher than the hair for the most part. You could extrude this 2 ways. You could select all the hair on each side, or you could select the entire face with the loop selection, or as much as you can without destroying the accessories. I normally like to extrude the hair by 3, but you could do 2 or 5 or really whatever you want. Now that you've extruded the hair, you can extrude your accessories. Make sure that you do it on top as well. It might look too squished. Now that you've got the first layer of your head completely finished, you need to work on the hat layer. Select all the hair on the hat layer. One thing is that if you extrude your head a lot and you don't extrude your hat, then it might look screwed up, so make sure that the hat layer is extruded along with your head layer. Personally, what I do with hair is I select the entire piece of hair and put it on 3. Then I select a little bit less and I put it on 2. And I just keep on doing a little bit less on 2. There's a point where it can be a little bit too much, so at some point you might want to look at it and make sure that it's okay. That's personally where I would stop. Then you can extrude the accessories as well. And once you're finished with the hat layer, put it back to position 0. Now before you know it, it's all extruded. Now the next thing I'm going to be showing you guys is how to add a camera and how to make it look good. I use the same settings every time. Make sure you're on Object, go to Focal Length, and put it on Super Wide. Field of View, Vertical, on 84. Now it's going to look the same to you at first, but click on this little square with the dot in the middle, and now it'll look different. Make sure you zoom in. When you look in a different angle, it'll look very different. When you're positioning though, make sure you're out of camera, as it can kind of mess you up. Now for positioning and adding weapons. There's a very simple way to add weapons in FMR rigs by going to FMR Tools and clicking on the tool you want and selecting it. That's the simplest way to add a tool. But if you want to add your own custom tools, then you're going to have to manually drag it over there. First, we're going to move the body around to do what we want to do. For this, I'm going to be doing a very simple render just to show you guys some of the settings of the guy leaning over holding a sword. To make him lean over, click on the first box, which basically selects everything from here to up there. You can move it forward with your mouse or back with your mouse. So we're going to move it back. This control box makes it so you can make the body turn. I'm personally going to turn it a little bit like this. To move the arms, just click on the bottom part and you can start moving it around. There is a blue, red, and green thing. You can click out of that and you don't even have to follow that, or you can just use it. Again, very simple render pose. You might have to move around a little bit to find out exactly what you want. And now to move around the feet. Most rigs, it's a little bit hard to see the feet after you have extruded, so you might have to go directly down below, select the foot itself. So you might have to go down and just select the foot itself. Make sure that you have this box selected and not the actual leg, because then it's not going to move anything. This is the control box. If you're having difficulties, once you actually get a hold of the control box, you can click on the scale tool, hold shift on your keyboard, and just drag it up. That'll make it bigger and easier to see. And then you can move the feet around. Earlier, the setting with feet basically makes it so the little white part on the shoes bend. So if I move it up here, then it might look weird. So if you're having difficulties with it, you can just turn it off and it basically stays the same wherever you put it. Personally, I like to have fancy feet on, and the way to fix it when it looks weird like this one, click on the rotating tool and just rotate the white part to where you want. This will affect where the leg is positioned, but it generally works. Once you think you have your pose finished, then you're going to want to add the weapon. I'm going to add a weapon to this arm. So open your weapon and it's going to be at the bottom, not anywhere near the hand. Now you're going to have to manually drag it over to where the hand is. For this part, I like to use the red, green, and blue tool. And you're also going to have to use the rotate tool, which makes it so you can rotate around the item. Generally, just make sure the hilt, or whatever this part of the sword is called, edge of the hand. If it seems like it's a little bit too big, go to scale, hold shift, and bring it down. And then if you want to, you can also extrude your sword. Time to go back into the camera and position it where you think it'll look. This is what the final product's going to be like. At this point, I would also move around the eyes to whatever you're doing, along with the mouth. And just a tip, make sure that your camera is generally close to the head. Once you think you've found your right position, just make sure that the thing that says perspective, there's a darker gray box here, make sure that your rig is not in those. Now you're done. Now you need to render it out. Click on edit render settings, go to save, press the 3 dots and save it where you want to, and just press save. Press the X button and press the middle action button. Now if you go to full screen and you zoom out with your mouse wheel, you're going to be able to see it rendering. Now once it's finished, you're going to have this fabulous render. Now you can exit out of that, and now we're going on to the Photoshop part, folks. Photoshop is personally my favorite. So here's the stuff you're gonna want for it. You're gonna wanna have a render room, some effect packs, and a text pack, and a screenshot pack, and a banner template. This isn't a template necessarily, it's more of a guideline thing. So personally, I would download all these packs. They are all free in the description. This one is for render room, this is Shadow's effect pack, and this is also Shadow's new effect pack. I use this for a vignette, however you pronounce it, and a layer style. And this is for screenshots in the background. With the banner template, you are a very lucky duck because I sent you a link to a banner template. Already has the vignette here. It has some color correction presets. It has a Herobrine thing if you'd like it, and it already has a screenshot. Now you can delete any and all of this. The main thing you're going to need is these guidelines. But before we get to banner stuff, I'm going to work on the render. First of all, with every pack, it's probably going to have an overlay thing that says thank you. All you need to do is you can either delete it or you can press the eye, which basically makes it invisible. Once you've done that, drag in your render, and now you can get to work. So first I'm going to go through all of these render effects, then I'm going to be looking at how to add effects, and then how to put it in thumbnails and banners just to kind of give you guys an outlook. Double click on the render itself to open the layer style. First thing you need to do is you need to add these effects that I add on everything. I already have a preset for this, but you're not going to. So what you're going to do is you're going to reopen it and just copy these settings. First of all, go to inner glow and just copy all these settings. Then go to gradient overlay and also copy these settings. I don't know why I set this on reverse, so I actually don't copy that. And in case you can't see the gradient, it is a black and white gradient, which I'm pretty sure already comes with Photoshop. Then you can change the angle. Angle is basically going to be where the light is coming in from. So this is all going to depend on what you did to your render and the Lightroom. Personally, I would normally make it so that the light is coming in from the left. It's like the sun is right here. The angle is basically pointing, this little pointer is pointing at the sun where it would be. So for this render, I'm going to put it about right there. And if you don't want to do this again and again, just press new style and press OK. Now that you have that, drag it to where it says render here and make a new folder, which you can do by pressing that. Double click on it, rename it render, and then click on your render and drag it into the folder. Now we're going to do something that I do in almost every banner, which is filter and liquify. This is where you can make the render look a little bit different if you screwed something up. This is basically when you move something, it'll push the stuff around. You can change the size of this, so if you don't want to make that much of a difference. So I just go around and make everything a little bit more wavy. Once you're done with all the moving around, press OK. Now as you can tell, it's going to be beautiful. Press Ctrl J on your keyboard and this will make a copy of it. But then go over to filter gallery and choose plastic wrap. Now at first it's going to look kind of weird, but then you want to mess with the settings. This is all about your choice, but personally I would either go with color dodge or soft light. In this situation I'm going to go with soft light. Soft light basically makes it darker, color dodge makes it brighter, and turn the opacity down. Once you think that looks good, then Ctrl J on the first render again. This time go to filter, blur, motion blur, and set it to about 15. And then where this little line is, move it to where you think looks best. So for me it's going to be right there. And again, turn down the opacity to where it's not super noticeable, but it adds an effect on it. I do that every time that I have renders. Now that you have your render effects finished, you're going to want to add some glows. Make another folder, rename it to glow, and then add a layer inside of it. Glows are basically just selecting your paintbrush, pressing Alt on your keyboard, which brings up the paint dropper tool, and just drawing. And then to make it look fancy, change it from normal to color dodge or linear dodge, or basically anything on the third section. Most of these should work except for the top one and the bottom one. I generally go with linear dodge add, and you can also change the opacity of this. Make sure that if it's a different accessory that you make a new layer before you start a new glow, because then if you're trying to move it around, it can mess it up. And if you did too much, you can use the erasing tool and just erase some of it. If there's a color, then you should probably add a glow. You're going to need different paintbrush sizes depending on how big the the accessory that you're adding a glow to is. And just make sure it's not too much. Never want it to be too much. Now, I would show you guys how to do lightning on a sword, but there is a specific tutorial that I used to learn how to do this, which is Shadow's lightning tutorial, so I'm gonna redirect you real quickly if you don't know how to get the lightning effect on the sword that I'm about to. Now I'm hoping you follow that nice tutorial and you have some lightning on your sword, but now I'm gonna show you how I do this one effect that I normally have in most of my banners. First of all, what you want to do is go to Shadow's 10K pack, go to effects, turn the visibility on, scroll down to the very bottom, number 20, make it visible, right click on it and press duplicate layer and put it to the render room. And then you want to move it to where you want the effect. Right now it doesn't look quite like what it's supposed to be, so again we're gonna add some liquefying. This part I don't really have an exact method. I normally just kind of push it around until I think it looks good. If you do screw it up like I just did, just press cancel and do it again. That seems good enough to me, so I press OK, and then it looks a little bit better. Now I'm going to change the color of it. You can use this for anything. Go to image, adjustments, hue/saturation, and change the hue. Now when you move it, I would normally make it match the other colors around it. And now that you have that, I would resize it, position it how I want it, move it a little bit closer to the hand so it looks like it's coming out of the hand, and there you go, you got your glow. One thing I like to do is that if there's an external glow, which basically means something that's not on the character itself, is I like to create clipping mask. Basically means that there's going to be a glow on the outside of the arm or whatever you're doing it on. So go to your original render, add a layer, right click, and press create clipping mask. And then select the color that you want it to be and just draw on where you want the clipping mask to be. I like this because then it actually looks like the character is connected to the external glow and just makes it smoother in general. And again, you can change it from normal to linear dodge or something like that. So you guys are probably thinking, oh man, this already looks pretty smexy. What else could I do? One last thing that I like to add in the render room is the eyes. Make another folder and name it eyes and add a new layer. Now for this part, you're going to want to zoom in real close to the eyes. Select a small brush, and normally what you would do is you would use the paint dropper tool to get the color that's already on the eye. But since these eyes are completely black, I'm just going to turn it to the color that I want. So I'd say about this color would be good, and just smother it on top of the eye. It's going to look weird for a second, but turn it from normal to color dodge or linear dodge add, and turn down the opacity a little bit if you're doing that. Make sure to make this stuff not too insanely visible, but generally you want to be able to see it. Once you think you've got that down, you want to add the little sparkly effects. To make these, change your color to white and literally just add dots where you think there should be sparkles. There's a lot of different styles for this. Honestly, you can choose whatever you want. But for this, I'm feeling in the mood to do something like this. If it looks too, I guess, circly to you, then go to filter, liquefy. It's going to be a little bit hard to find it. Find where there's white dots in the gray, zoom in and scroll up to it. Make the sides of the brush way smaller and just kind of move it around to what you think will work, and then it will indeed not be circles. Another effect I like to add on the eyes is click on the layer that has the sparkliness and go to where it says outer glow, and then change this to the color of the eyes. Sometimes you don't get it exactly right and you need to erase the edges. Just make sure that it's inside the eyes. And since we're too lazy to do it for the other eye, just press Ctrl J on your keyboard, which is to duplicate, move it over to the other eye, and erase the bits where the eye is different. Because again, we are much too lazy for this. And there you go, you got your eyes. Now for this pack in particular, this is how we're gonna add CCs. CCs are color corrections and make it look 10 million times better. Go to utility, click on color corrections, turn on the visibility, and it shouldn't look different for you yet. And normally what I would do is I would add cool and high saturation / contrast. If that doesn't exactly match your glow, I would normally keep high saturation / contrast and turn on warm desaturation. I would normally put the opacity of the cool or the warm desaturation down, as that's going to bring in warmth or coolness, because when it's on high, it's a little bit too much. Freaking actual Kenny, get out of here. Now you can close all your folders, and you are officially finished with your render. Now it's going to be up to whether you're doing a banner or a thumbnail, which is going to be the two things I'm showing you now. For a thumbnail, go to File, New, turn the width to 1280, the height by 720, name it whatever you want. I'm just going to name this tutorial. Put the resolution on 72 pixels by inch. Then press OK. Now this is the part where you're going to need the screenshot pack. The screenshot pack is not a .psd, so you're going to have to locate it where you saved it on your computer. For example, this one has multiple things. Find the one that you would like and just drop it in there. If it doesn't quite match the resolutions, just drag it so that it does. Now an effect I like to add to the background is the same thing we did when we first had the render, which if you've already done the render, then it should be quite easy. Just click on the style that you made before. Now we're going to add some text. Make text, click on the text tool, click on where you want it to be. This is not going to be per minute, don't worry, and type in your text. I normally use the exact same font for each thumbnail, which is with Take You Rant Bold, and for speed arts I use Dicky Medium. So now you can switch back to the move tool and put put it where you would like the text. So let's say I want the text to be right here for some reason. Now double click on the text, and hopefully you have some styles, but if you don't, it's okay. One layer style that I always use in almost every single thumbnail is from Press V5, which is why we installed it. Go to Press V5, go to accessories, go to text styles, and click on this last text style 4. Right click and press copy layer style. Now go back to the text they're working on and press paste layer style. Personally, I like to edit this a little bit as I don't want the drop shadow or the outer glow. Make sure that you don't have any outer glows or drop shadows. For this type of text, I go to stroke, make sure the position is on outside, the size is about 9 or so depending on how big your text is. Go to color and basically just change it to the darker version of the color of the text. So since it's white, we're gonna do gray and then press OK. Then I normally do also add an outer glow and make sure that you can see it by turning up the size. I'm putting a black outer glow on this one, then press OK, and you have your text. But one thing you might want to do that I do is to liquefy it as well. It's gonna ask if you want to convert it to smart object. Make sure that you don't want to add any more effects before you do this, and then press convert to smart object. Now you can basically move the text around. I do it a little bit, not a lot, just so it's not insane. Now to make it look even fancier, click on it as if you were going to move it, and then right click and instead go to where it says warp and custom. Now you can change it to flag, which I normally like to do. Basically just find the box on it and then move it up or down, and it'll let you change that. Which I normally like to do this one. Or another one that I like to do is bulge and make it go indented a little bit. You can do what I showed you before with glows and add some glows on top of it if you like. That is all up to you. Another thing that I like to do with my text is press Ctrl J, go to the one on the bottom, make it larger, much larger than the other one, and position it so it's in the middle. Go to filter, blur, and however you pronounce this, Gaussian blur, and I'd suggest putting it on around 4, and then turn down the opacity, and there you go. You kind of have that outer glow look. And if you want, you can also liquefy that some more, which I normally do. And you can also change it from normal to linear dodge or whatever you want to do. Boom, you got your text. Now you need to import your render. Basically, you need to select all the stuff that you were editing. So go to utilities, find your color corrections, and just drag it next to eyes and glows and stuff so that it's easier to move. Now, while holding shift on your keyboard, click on all of them, right click, go to duplicate layers, and put it to the thumbnail. And now that you've moved it over, make sure color corrections is always on the top, and then select all of these again by holding shift and move it around to wherever the heck you want. And you can also resize it and crap, but I'm really too lazy right now. And boom, clap, but there's your thumbnail. Those are the best effects in my opinion, and you can always add more glows on top. Now I'm not going to go into too much depth about the banner because you literally learned how to do text, renders, and everything else, but there's a little bit different of stuff that you might want to do for the banner. You do the same process of adding a screenshot and importing your color corrections and renders and stuff, but there's two things that I like to do differently with a banner. First of all, I like to do my text kind of differently. So I'm just going to say this is my name here, and I'm going to use a different font because I almost never use that font on banners. I really like this font, which I talked about before, Dicky Medium, and I add my effect to it. And there's one effect that I do text on banners that makes it so it's 3D. To do this, press Alt, G, and up on your keyboard. This little part right here is going to be the shadows. Now select first one to the second to last one, press Ctrl E. Then press Ctrl U, and then turn the lightness down. Then it's basically like it has a little drop shadow. And then you can select both of those and press Ctrl E so it's one text. Another thing differently that I would do is add some lines on top and bottom. To do this, make a new layer, press the selection tool, and select the top part of the banner that you want this little lighting effect to be on. Once you're done with that, let go, right click, and press fill. Make sure it's on color and the mode is on 100%, and change the color to white. Then press OK. Then change this to soft light. Normally with glows and stuff, it looks a lot better. And then press Ctrl J, move back to the moon tool, and you might have to zoom in for this part because you might select the wrong thing, and just move this to the bottom. And boom, you got it. And I normally add my own logo to my banner, but you guys don't have to do that either. And just in case you guys don't know how banner guidelines work, basically just want to have your renders and your text be in this middle line. For some reason, YouTube's really weird. And that's it. That's all that I want to teach you guys. So, see you guys later.